He still has it, and Saturday we're going to show it by knockout.
Right?
Do you believe you knock him out?
Yeah, why not?
I don't want to see Terence fight Canelo, but I would love to see him fight anybody in that division, because even up to 154, because I think he's the cream of the crop.
At the final press conference, Canelo Alvarez's trainer Eddie Reynoso unleashed a fiery warning directed at Terence Crawford. He declared that on Saturday night, the world would see the very best version of Canelo. With full conviction, Reynoso predicted a knockout finish, insisting that Canelo's mix of power and experience would simply overwhelm Crawford.
I think of him sometimes like Marvin Hagler, who when he fought Duran, he gave him too much respect, and it was close. So when he fought Hearns, he thought, no, I'm going to go knock him out. What mentality do you want Canelo to have for this fight?
Me recuerdo un poco a Marvin Hagler y lo que tuvo que hacer cuando ves a Canelo, cuál es la mentalidad que él tiene con este partido. Lo mejor de su carrera, lo mejor de 20 años de preparación y de peleador, eso se va a ver el sábado. This is the best Canelo we're going to see in 20 years of career, and we're going to show it on Saturday.
Canelo Alvarez has long carried the aura of a champion who shines brightest under pressure. In a recent statement, he made it clear that he is eager for the showdown with Terence Crawford and boldly vowed that a knockout is guaranteed. Bold promises are nothing new for Canelo, a fighter who has built his legacy on being both fearless and outspoken. His devastating knockout power has defined much of his career, breaking down some of the greatest names in boxing history. By guaranteeing a stoppage win over Crawford, Canelo isn't just speaking to the cameras. He's sending a psychological message to his opponent and the fans alike.
He thinks Bomac might throw the towel in to stop the fight.
Oh, could be. In boxing, everything can happen, right?
Do you believe you knock him out?
Yeah, why not?
Canelo, you said last year you have everything to lose and nothing to gain. And because you said if he wins, if you win, you'll say he's too small.
Yeah.
Is that still the same for you now?
No, when you don't have in mind one fight, you think in that way. But when you see how big is this fight,
While Alvarez admitted that Terence Crawford looks impressive in his new physical form, he was quick to insist that none of it matters once the bell rings. For Canelo, the fight itself will reveal who he truly is as a champion. He explained that every time a major showdown is announced, it sparks endless conversations, speculations, and doubts from all directions. Fans and analysts carry their own beliefs, fueling debates about what the outcome might be. Yet Canelo's stance has never wavered. He believes that no matter what is said outside, the final word will belong to him, proving the only way that counts, inside the ring.
it's good. I feel happy because that you realize it's gonna be a good fight. So and we expect a good fight.
There are rumours circulating. A lot of people, conspiracy theories, think that it's photoshopped. What's your opinion?
I don't think so. I don't think so. People always talk, speculate and everything, but that's good. Around big fights always happen.
You're somebody who has moved up and through the weights himself. What do you think the biggest challenge of it is, and what do you think he maybe is underestimating with it?
No, maybe they know, but if not, I'm going to remind them September 13, I can do a lot of things in the ring, and I'm going to put everything there.
Veteran trainer Abel Sanchez voiced strong concerns about this matchup, making it clear he does not want to see Canelo Alvarez take on Terence Crawford or anyone else in that division. Sanchez argued the size gap is simply too great and could become a dangerous factor inside the ring. His view reflects the worry that Canelo, after moving through multiple weight classes, may now be pushing the limits by accepting fights with such stark disadvantages. From Sanchez's perspective, these kinds of risks could threaten Canelo's longevity as a fighter and expose him to unnecessary danger.
I don't want to see Terence fight Canelo, but I would love to see him fight anybody in that division, because even up to 154, because I think he's the cream of the crop.
Well, why not Canelo? Is that just a little too much?
It'd be like Canelo fighting the Charlo. He just, even though he's got a lot of talent, it's just not enough size.
Former world champion Carl Froch observed that Crawford's present form makes him look both big and powerful, a mix that could spell trouble for Canelo once they clash. Froch pushed the point further, reminding fans that Canelo has not been untouchable throughout his career. He was beaten by Floyd Mayweather years ago and, more recently, by Dimitri Bivol, both reminders that Alvarez can be brought down when facing the right style. For Frock, those defeats stand as evidence that Crawford's size and strength might create real pressure for Canelo inside the ring.
Good counter punches, fast hands, naturally the lighter man, so it's going to be naturally the quicker man. But I said earlier, he's looking bigger and stronger, so I think he's going to be able to cope with pressure from Canelo at times. But Canelo, I'm talking about, how does he win? And I think use his size, his strength, and his weight advantage, his natural weight advantage, to sort of bully Crawford around and push him back and put him under pressure, if indeed he can. And I just think that his natural ability, he's got high work rate, Canelo. He throws combination punches. He's great with a jab. He's defensive. He's a masterclass in here. He does everything really, really well, exceptionally well. But he's also tough. He's never been down, never been put over, never really looked like he'd been hurt. I mean, he's had a couple of losses, hasn't he? He's lost to Mayweather, he's lost to Dimitri Bivol, but he never really looked hurt. I think Bivol caught him with a couple of shots that may have buzzed him. Never went anywhere, did he? Never touched down on the canvas. So for Crawford to actually hit him and hurt him, or hit him and put him away, I can't see that happening. Canelo just needs to do what Canelo does, which is busy, excellent boxing masterclass work, but on his front foot and put Terence Bud Crawford under pressure. And that will probably be enough for him to get the job done. Now, for Crawford to win this fight, he's going to have to box and move, use his speed, use the ring craft, you know, the skills that we've seen time and time again. Ricky Burns, I've mentioned, Kell Brook, the big win against Errol Spence. Nobody thought that would be a one-sided whooping, but that's what it was. Terence Crawford outclassed Errol Spence. Errol Spence is a phenomenal fighter. We know how good he is, and look what Bud Crawford managed to do to him. Such a quality fighter, and he's unbeaten as well. So he's coming into this fight, doesn't know how to lose. I know he's older than Canelo Alvarez. Has he got one eye on retirement? Maybe. But he's not going to want to go out on a loss. So Crawford needs to be fast behind the jab, combination punches, busy, body and head, fast leg work all the way around the ring, use his speed, make Canelo reach like Bivol did.
Veteran broadcaster Jim Gray called this showdown one of those rare fights that only come around once in a great while. For Gray, the magic lies in seeing Canelo and Crawford, two of the defining greats of their era, collide on the same stage. The outcome is nearly impossible to call because each man carries weapons the other must respect. Alvarez brings raw power and the seasoning of countless big nights, while Crawford steps in with versatility, sharp skills, and an unbeaten streak that makes him downright dangerous. Gray's words capture why fans are captivated. This isn't one fighter towering over another, but two icons whose combined strengths could give us a classic.
You're asking me to break down a fight. I mean, obviously the big focus is on the weight and coming up in the division. And, but look, Terence Crawford fights from both sides. And while Canelo has fought guys who, have been southpaws and so forth, they usually don't switch in the middle of the round. So you never know what can happen in these fights. Canelo is a bigger guy, and Canelo, we saw what happened to him when he went up against Bivol. So we know what that looks like. And so, it's a tough assignment to move up in weight, but Terence Crawford has taken on every tough assignment, and he looks in great shape. And this guy's really something. So it's hard to say. If you start analyzing and breaking this down, there are advantages for both.
Former world champion Steve Collins broke down the fight with calm balance. He admitted he couldn't lean toward one side, reminding everyone that Canelo still carries enough in his career to topple Crawford. Yet, at the same time, Crawford stands as arguably the best fighter alive today. Collins stressed that both men have the tools to win. Alvarez brings grit and experience, while Crawford enters with sharp intelligence and adaptability. His take shows why the boxing world is so split. Each camp has real reasons to believe. For Collins, everything rests not on predictions, but on who executes better once the bell rings.
Firmly picking Canelo, some people firmly picking Crawford. Where's your head at with this?
I'm a fan of Canelo. I love his style. I like how he fights. I like everything about him, his boxing. Crawford is a very good fighter. And some people believe and think that maybe Canelo might not be taking him serious. People think, oh, Canelo's got this attitude, I'm bigger than him, I'm stronger than him. This is what they think Canelo's thinking. And they think people believe that Canelo goes in underestimating Crawford. He could be in for a shock. I don't believe Canelo is underestimating him because he's too long in the tooth. He's been around the game. He's too wise and too successful to underestimate anybody. But also in saying that, Canelo's been around a long time. He's got a lot of hard fights under his belt, and I wonder, is every fight, next fight is going to be his last fight? Has Canelo still got it in the tank? We don't know. We know on the night Crawford is good enough to beat him. Canelo's good enough to beat Crawford, and in saying that, I'm looking forward to the fight because I really don't know. I can't pick a winner. That's what's great about this fight because I really cannot pick a winner.
Do you think size will play a factor in this fight?
Well, size can play a factor if you know how to use it to your advantage. Sometimes size can be to a disadvantage. I don't really think the size is going to make that much of a difference, really. But then Canelo is clever enough; he can use his weight to a positive. I don't really know. See, I can't simplify it and say, oh yeah, size will make a difference. That's what's great about this fight. I can't pick a winner.
Michael Bisping, the former UFC champion, offered his take by centering on legacy. He described Canelo Alvarez as the face of boxing while recognizing Terence Crawford as the undisputed king of his division. For Bisping, this showdown goes far beyond money or belts. It is about carving history. For Canelo, beating an undefeated, highly respected opponent like Crawford would only add more weight to his already legendary career. For Crawford, stepping up to face Alvarez is the ultimate stage to prove himself against the sport's biggest name. Bisping's view captures the essence of this fight. Two men chasing immortality, not just another victory.
About after all. And let's remember that Canelo Alvarez is kind of the face of boxing, but he's currently the number 3 pound-for-pound fighter. Canelo is only number 8, and of course number 1 is Alexander Usyk.
I'm Phil.
A man that also, let's remember, moved up weight classes. If Crawford wins here, he becomes the first ever 3-weight undisputed boxing champion, but he's up against big competition in Canelo Alvarez. Alvarez is one of, if not the biggest star in boxing. All of the pressure is on Alvarez being the larger fighter, and also, as I said, being considered the face of boxing. Now Alvarez himself, he has unified the entire super middleweight division. After moving up from lower weight classes himself, unifying is a very rare achievement, but it also means that this fight is for all of Canelo's belts. Canelo is much more experienced, of course. His resume is stacked, and he's fought some of the best from 154 all the way up to 175. People like Triple G, 3 times Amir Khan, Floyd Mayweather, Daniel Jacobs, Miguel Cotto, to name but a few. But his home has always been at 168 pounds. Canelo is unbeaten at super middleweight and only losing twice in his whole career versus Dimitri Bivol at light heavyweight in 2022 and Floyd Mayweather years ago, 2013, at 154 pounds. Funnily enough, 154 pounds is the highest weight that Crawford has competed at. All right, if you're a boxing fan, then you're in for a treat because we've got a fight that transcends titles. We've got Canelo Alvarez, the undisputed champion, taking on the 3-division king, Terence Crawford. That is correct.
Bruce Carrington weighed in on the chatter surrounding reports of Canelo Alvarez sparring Jaron Ennis in preparation for Crawford. To Carrington, sparring is just sparring and nothing more. He brushed aside the notion that such sessions reveal any real advantage, stressing that practice can't replicate the intensity or unpredictability of a live fight. His reminder is simple. What happens in the gym doesn't decide what happens under the lights.
I heard, you know what I'm saying? And the thing is, sparring, bro. It happens. I've had my days where a dude might get the best of me, and then the next 4 or 5 times I spar him, I'm lighting him up. It's no competition at that point. That's how things happen.
But wouldn't you say, and I could be wrong, you're the pro here, but isn't sparring the most essential part of preparing for a fight, though?
It is to a certain extent. It is. I would say, but see, the thing is, when you're fighting, it's certain things you will and will not do. But when you're sparring, you trying certain things. You're more loose. You're not as timid and thinking about throwing certain shots. You're really taking your time. There's certain times I'm sparring and really dead on sparring.
Respected analyst Max Kellerman broke down the stakes with trademark precision. He noted that while Canelo Alvarez has headlined countless mega events, for Terence Crawford this represents the single biggest stage of his career. Crawford has never faced an opponent with Canelo's star power under such a spotlight. Yet Kellerman was quick to add, the pressure isn't one-sided. For Canelo, this fight also looms as one of the greatest challenges of his storied career, making it a defining moment for both men.
One thing about Canelo is he's been in a million big events. And I'm going to ask him about this just between you and me when he gets here. Don't tell him. But has he ever been in a bigger fight than this one? Is this everyone knows this is easily the biggest fight of Terence Crawford's career. But has he ever been in a fight as big as Canelo Alvarez, who's been in a million huge fights? Floyd Mayweather, that was huge, and that was Floyd, but he was young then. He was young, and he wasn't going to be in front of, 50 million people worldwide. Because this ain't a pay-per-view. This is available to everybody. I think Triple G, those were big fights, but not like this.
Boxing journalist Dan Raphael called the matchup fascinating, but urged caution. He reminded fans that neither fighter looked particularly spectacular in their most recent outings, leaving some to wonder if both are still at their absolute peak. For Raphael, the hope is that this showdown brings out the very best in Canelo and Crawford, forcing them to rise to the occasion. His words highlight the unpredictability of the clash, because when two greats meet, the fight only carries its full weight if both arrive in top form.
Highly anticipated Canelo versus Crawford. It's approaching very, very soon. What do you think, Dan?
I mean, it's a big event. It's probably the biggest event of the year in boxing. They're both great fighters. They're both Hall of Famers in waiting. As a boxing fan, I'm thrilled because it's a very fascinating matchup with two all-time greats. With the obviously caveat that you got Terence Crawford moving up two weight classes to see what he can do against the undisputed champ. Neither guy looked good in their last fight, but I suspect they're going to be a lot more into this fight. You know who you got in front of you in September, and Crawford's saying, I'm fighting the great Canelo Alvarez. Canelo's like, I'm fighting the 4-division champ, pound-for-pound type guy in Crawford that's never lost. I better be really prepared. So I'm hopeful that aspect that they're really tuned in will make it a bigger and better fight.
Former champion Jarrett Hurd opened up about his own experience sparring Terence Crawford. He admitted that no matter how hard he tried, he simply couldn't back Crawford up in those sessions. A detail that says everything about Crawford's strength, resilience, and ring intelligence. For Hurd, that alone serves as a warning sign to Canelo Alvarez. Crawford may be far tougher to pressure than many anticipate. Testimony like this, coming straight from another professional, adds weight to the belief that Crawford has the tools to absorb heavy fire, and it deepens the debate on whether Canelo's power will truly be enough to break down a fighter who has already proven his toughness against world-class opposition in training.
We're going to try and cut through all the intangibles, all the noise, and figure out exactly who is going to win this fight. There's a couple of things I've noticed before the fight mentally that might give us an indication as to where these two guys are at. The major talking point of physicality and size is something that we're absolutely going to have to cover. And I'm definitely going to try and come down one way or the other on this before we see the two men in the ring. Can Crawford take those punches? Will he hit hard enough to hurt Canelo? How has preparation gone for the two men? And finally, tactically, do I think that Crawford can execute a game plan that would allow him to beat Canelo Alvarez and become the first ever 3-weight undisputed world champion? I'm probably going to change my mind a couple of times along the way in this one, guys, because it really is that hard to pick. So watch me as I go through the process of figuring out who wins this damn fight. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to A Guy Called Henry. I'm absolutely buzzing for this fight. I know that the promotion and the hype for this one has been a bit weird. I don't know why. I really thought that Netflix were going to go all out on this because obviously the whole reason they put these fights on is to try and get more subscribers on their platform. And look, maybe it does giant numbers and I've just missed something here, but it does feel a little weird, this build-up. Even the weird face-off where they're standing on that float in the water, there's just something not quite there and not quite right with it. But it doesn't matter to me because I love boxing and I can put all that aside and go, I've thought about this endlessly. I've analyzed and assessed everything. And I just have the hardest time picking a winner here because I can see ways that both men can win. I can see what's more likely. I can see which way my mind is going. And it's a real battle for me here because sometimes I just have a feeling about things, but I hate feelings when it comes to boxing. It doesn't matter how you feel. Facts are your friends. I'm going to try and give you as many facts or at least try and read between the lines as much as I can in this video.
Analysts watching Crawford's camp say his team is pushing with tremendous intensity, sharpening every detail of skill and strategy. For weeks, whispers spread about a possible shoulder injury. But those rumors have now been brushed aside as baseless. The latest word is clear. Crawford's preparation hasn't missed a beat, and he's on track to step into the ring fully healthy. That news reassures fans, because it means this clash will showcase both fighters at their absolute best, with no excuses tied to lingering setbacks. And for a fight carrying such historic weight, it matters that each man arrives focused solely on performing at the highest level.
Time, Canelo can land one shot to the body and he could take out Crawford. That's the reality of this fight. But look, the point of what I'm making here is if that shoulder injury is real, we're not going to know about it because Team Crawford's adamantly denied it. And let's just suppose that he is there for a payday. You're not going to know about any injury because they want people to buy the fight. They want people to watch it. And also, they're not going to want their opponent to know that there's any weakness coming into it to give them the best chance possible. And, you know, we know Canelo likes to hit the arms where he can to tire you out and weaken you. So if that shoulder injury is legit, then there's massive problems. But let's assume that it's not going to be an issue in this prediction. There's also been the chat about Canelo sparring Jerome Boots Ennis, which is probably pretty good preparation, being he's a switch hitter, he's smaller and faster, you know, similar to Terence Crawford in some ways, although I also think quite different. But are you going to get much better sparring than that? Probably not. People saying that it might have been too much for Canelo, it might have affected his confidence, taken too much out of him. I saw Teddy Atlas saying that, you don't want to break your guy in the gym and all this, and I just think we have no idea what kind of sparring they were doing. You know, Jerome Ennis could have gone in there and done purely tech sparring.
That's it for today's video. Stay tuned, and until next time.